You know the exact weight of that silence. It's not empty. It's heavy. It sits in your chest like a stone you've been carrying for months, maybe years. You've memorized the rhythm of their retreat, the way a warm conversation cools, the way a lingering look suddenly looks away, the way your name, once spoken with ease, now feels like a word they're afraid to say out loud. You've told yourself it's timing. You've told yourself they're busy. You've told yourself if you just give them space, if you just show up differently, if you just love them quietly enough, they'll finally exhale. But they never do. You're left standing in the hallway of your own life, waiting for a door to open that keeps closing. The confusion is a quiet poison. It makes you question your voice, your presence, your right to ask for what you need. You start shrinking. You start translating their distance into your own unworthiness. And somewhere beneath the exhaustion, there's a small, stubborn truth you've been avoiding. You have been chasing a ghost. And your pursuit is the exact reason it keeps fading. That's the brutal part. The part that doesn't want to be heard. You believe that if you just explain yourself better, if you just prove your loyalty, if you just stay long enough to outlast their hesitation, they'll finally feel safe. Safety, in your mind, is something you can build for them. But you can't build safety in a house where the foundation is fear. Every time you lean in, every time you reach for reassurance, every time you pour your nervous system into trying to fix the gap between you, you're not closing the distance. You're widening it. Not because you're doing it wrong, because your intensity feels like pressure to a body that has learned, long before you ever met them, that closeness means consumption. Love, to their wiring, is not a sanctuary. It's a threat. And the nervous system doesn't negotiate with threats. It survives them. Look at what happens beneath the surface. When you ask for more, when your eyes search theirs for proof, when your tone softens into vulnerability, their amygdala doesn't register romance. It registers alarm. The primitive center of the brain, the one that hasn't evolved past ancient survival, doesn't care about your good intentions. It only reads energy. And your longing reads like gravity. Too much of it, too fast, and the body floods with cortisol. Heart rate climbs, breath shallows, muscles brace. The mind screams, trap. So they detach. It's not calculation, it's biology. They don't pull away because they don't feel you. They pull away because feeling you all at once short-circuits their capacity to stay. Dopamine, the chemical of craving and reward, is tightly woven into pursuit. When you chase, you become the source of their dopamine regulation. The moment you step closer, their system drops into deficit. They retreat to stabilize, to breathe, to survive the emotional current you didn't even know you were creating. It's a reflex, a defense carved into their nervous system long before you ever handed them your heart. They aren't rejecting you. They're regulating themselves, and they don't even know they're doing it. This is the reframe that will crack the illusion. They didn't stop caring. They drowned in it. Love, for an avoidant, is a tidal wave. They don't know how to float. They only know how to brace and then swim backward to shallow water. The silence you mistake for coldness is actually panic wearing a mask of indifference. They're fighting a war inside their own skull. One part craves your warmth. The other part is terrified of being swallowed by it. They watch you pour yourself out, and they feel it. They feel the weight of your devotion, and instead of stepping into it, they step away from it, because the only way they know how to keep from losing themselves in you is to create distance. They don't leave because you're not enough. They leave because feeling everything at once is too much. They retreat to preserve what's left of themselves, and in doing so, they leave you holding the pieces of a connection they never knew how to anchor. So what do you do when the truth settles in your bones? You stop feeding the cycle. You introduce the one force that actually shifts the axis: non-reactivity. Not silence as punishment, not distance as a game. Stillness as recalibration. You stop translating their withdrawal into your failure. You stop filling the gaps they leave with your explanations. You let the space exist without demanding it close. Non-reactivity is not indifference. It's the quiet assertion of your own nervous system. You step out of the storm they're running from, and you plant your feet in the calm. You become the still point. And stillness is magnetic. It doesn't beg. It doesn't negotiate. It simply holds its shape. When you stop reacting to their rhythm, you break the feedback loop that has kept you both trapped. Your nervous system stops mirroring their panic. Your breath deepens. Your pulse slows. You stop outsourcing your regulation to someone who doesn't know how to hold it. And in that quiet recalibration, something shifts inside them. Watch what happens when you finally let go. At first, they feel relief. The pressure lifts. The cortisol drops. Their chest unclenches. They breathe easier. They tell themselves this is what they wanted. Space. Freedom. No demands. But the relief doesn't last. Because absence has a sound. And yours has been the background hum of their life for so long that when it vanishes, the silence becomes deafening. They check their phone, not for messages, for the phantom weight of your attention. They scroll past old photos. They replay conversations they once dismissed as too heavy. They notice the quiet isn't peaceful anymore. It's hollow. The dopamine that once came from your pursuit is gone, and their brains start scanning for the missing signal. They don't realize it's withdrawal. They just feel a strange, restless pull. They think of you in the shower, in traffic, at 2 a.m. Not with panic, with a quiet, aching curiosity. Why did they stop trying? What changed? Did I imagine how much they cared? The mind hates unresolved loops, and you just became the open circle they can't close. Slowly, the axis tilts. They test the water. A casual text, a shared memory dropped into your path, a sudden compliment wrapped in casual tone. Not because they've healed, because they miss the gravity you provided. The chase flips, not because you played games, because you stopped playing. The nervous system responds to predictability, and when you become unpredictable, not erratic, but self-contained, they recalibrate. Your absence becomes a mirror. They start seeing what they lost, not your loyalty, your peace. The quiet confidence of someone who no longer begs to be chosen. That's when the longing takes root. It's not love. Not yet. It's recognition. The realization that the one person who finally stopped running is the one they can't stop thinking about. They feel the void. They feel the weight of what they pushed away. And for the first time, they don't feel safe in the distance. They feel exposed in it. They'll try to pull you back into the old rhythm. A late-night call, a sudden burst of warmth, a promise wrapped in hesitation. They'll offer breadcrumbs to see if you'll still starve for them. They'll test your boundaries to see if your silence was a tactic or a transformation. And here is the warning you must carry like armor. Do not confuse their return with resolution. Do not mistake their curiosity for commitment. The avoidant mind will pull close, then vanish. It will offer just enough to keep you tethered, then step back to see if you'll chase again. If you break your non-reactivity, if you rush back into the old pattern of pursuit and reassurance, you reset the entire cycle. The nervous system learns fast. If you reward their inconsistency with your availability, you teach them that your peace is negotiable, that your boundaries are flexible, that your silence was just a phase, not a foundation. Do not undo your healing for the illusion of their presence. The void they feel is theirs to sit with, not yours to fix. You are not responsible for their regulation. You never were. This is where you become untouchable. Not cold, not hardened, unshakable. You stop measuring your worth against their capacity to stay. You realize that letting go was never about them. It was about you reclaiming your center. The moment you stop chasing, you stop outsourcing your nervous system regulation to someone who doesn't know how to hold space for it. You build your own anchor. You learn to self-soothe. You discover that the love you were begging for outside was the exact love you abandoned within. When you finally let go, you don't lose them. You find yourself. And that is the true power shift. Not because they come back, but because you no longer need them to. You walk differently. You speak softer. You stop explaining your worth. You embody it. The avoidant may circle, they may return, they may stay away. It no longer dictates your weather. You are the sky. Let them pass through. Let them linger. Let them leave. You remain. Grounded. Whole. Unbroken. This is not the end of a story. It's the beginning of your sovereignty. And once you taste that quiet power, you'll never trade it for the ache of chasing again.